All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. And make sure you check out Pig in a Pickle, the best barbecue in Northern California. They're open 7 days a week in Corte Madera, and they're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. The brisket is amazing. You got to try it. The brisket chili is phenomenal. It's all great, but the brisket chili and the brisket itself, phenomenal. And get the potato chips cooked in beef fallow. You will not ever regret it. All right. Let's talk a little 49ers. We are just at the beginning of free agency, and we're starting to see a trend over the last couple of years of how the 49ers are dealing with free agency. And I got to credit John Lynch and Parag Marathe. I think these guys have perfected the art of roster building. What do the 49ers have almost every year? Going back over the last 5 or 6 years since 2019, they have arguably the NFL's deepest roster year after year after year, almost without fail. The 49ers are always among the deepest teams in pro football. And here's their plan. And we've seen it really enacted the last couple of years. They go out in free agency and they look for a difference maker. Last year, they needed a difference maker in the secondary. They signed Charvarius Ward, a serious number one corner, probably the best player in their secondary the day he walked through the door. This year, they go out and spend $20 million a year, $84 million on Javon Hargrave. Hargrave walks in. He's instantly among the best players on the entire team and one of the best defensive linemen in the room. In a room that's loaded, that already has Nick Bosa, that already has Eric Armstead. Hargrave walks in, he's as good as anybody in that room. That's how good of a football player he is. So they're targeting and signing premium free agents. Not a lot of them, 1 or 2 maximum. And then they're just after that, when their own free agents hit the market, if they're elite guys, they get them signed up. If they're not elite guys, but they still like them, they draw a line in the sand as what we're going to spend in our budget. And if that player's price tag exceeds what they want to pay, they wave goodbye and they let those players walk away. And that's what we've seen. They've let the vast majority of their lesser free agents walk away to other teams in free agency. They don't, as Michael Lombardi said, don't pay top dollar for good. And that's where they're at. They do not pay top dollar for good players that they like. Heck, John Lynch, you could say, invented guys like Charles Omenihu by trading for him and getting him at the right weight and putting him in a perfect system. And what did he do? He walked away to Kansas City for more money. So stay disciplined in your approach to roster building is the key. Sign great players, let good players walk away in free agency, and then collect the compensatory picks. The Niners led the NFL this year with 7 compensatory picks. I saw an article or a tweet earlier this morning from Matt Barrow said the Niners are probably on target to get 5 or 6 more compensatory picks in the 2024 draft. And then and where are those compensatory picks? They're after the 3rd round. And then after rounds, I think after the 5th round, 6th round, and 7th round, you see compensatory selections. So they're never day 1 picks. They're always day 2 and day 3 selections. But that's how the Niners have dominated the draft. They dominate the draft by hitting on day 2, day 3 picks and undrafted free agents. And the result is an extremely deep roster that's always packed with young, inexpensive, ascending football players with sometimes high upside. And you don't think it's working? How about this list? This is the list of day 3 draft picks or undrafted free agents who are currently on the 49ers. This list is 20 plus deep. This is basically almost half the roster. Brock Purdy, Elijah Mitchell, J.P. Mason, George Kittle, Colton McKivitz, Spencer Burford, Juwan Jennings, Tay Martin. And don't forget that name, by the way, Tay Martin, undrafted free agent out of Oak State. Nobody saw him this year except for me and the people that were at practice and a couple people who love Oak State football. Tay Martin is a player. Tay Martin's got great ball skills. He's coming on. Remember that name. Big play, Tay Martin. Jason Poe, Nick Sickell, Jalen Moore, Charlie Warner. Now let's get to the defense. That's all on the offensive side of the ball. Let's get to the defensive side of the ball. Dre Greenlaw, day 3 pick. Samuel Womack, day 3 pick. Talanoa Hufanga, day 3 pick. Lenore, day 3. Givens was an undrafted free agent. Kalia Davis is a player. Another guy is a player. He wasn't undrafted. He was a day 3 pick. Quantrez Knight from UCLA, undrafted free agent. He's a player. Wait for him. Look for him this summer. Marcelino McCrary Ball, he's a player. Undrafted free agent. Mitch Wishnowsky, day 3 pick. That is a ton. That's a ton of talent to be taken after the 3rd round or after the draft. They're winning by their formula. Their formula is sound and it works. Go target a couple of great players, bring them into your room. Why is that important? It's important because they're not just names on a list. They're people in a room. So, like your job, if somebody pays somebody else from who doesn't work with your company to come in and work with you, and they pay that person to come in more than what you're making, there's an issue unless the guy coming in that door is great. If he provides a skill to your company that you don't provide and nobody else can provide, then you don't have that resentment. But if that guy's just kind of or if he's not even as good as you and the company just paid him and you've been slaving away for years working for this company and they've never taken care of you and now they're taking care of somebody else, guess what that means? You resent them, the company, and you resent that worker. Bad chemistry. The Niners understand this. So they're not flirting around with a bunch of mediocre free agents at top dollar. They're not going to overpay like they did back in the day for the Antonio Langhams and the Gabe Wilkins and some of these guys in the previous regimes that were good players elsewhere, got paid like great players to come to the Niners, Nate Clements. And suddenly they walk into a room and there's all this resentment. And you wonder why the team's not locked together and not tied together. It's because they resent each other and they resent the organization. The Niners don't do that. They pay certain select guys. We don't have a Charvarius Ward. Bring a number 1 corner here. We don't have a Javon Hargrave, interior rusher who can have double-digit sacks. Bring Hargrave here. They walk into the room. They have instant respect. Nobody resents the fact they make a lot of money. They make a lot because they produce a lot. All right, so that's number 1. Number 2 is don't fall in love with your guys. The Niners love Samson Ebukam. The Niners love Charles Omenihu. The Niners love, Azeez Al-Shaair. They're all gone. They all left. And the Niners still love them because they're good players, not great players, and you get burned in free agency paying great amounts of money to good players. So they let those guys walk. And they take all those comp picks. And they had 7 this year. They're probably going to have 6 or 7 next year. And then they look at the draft, and they're like, you know what? We got our day 1 and day 2 picks like everybody else in a normal draft. But, man, when it gets to day 3, we're taking 8, 9, 10 bites of the apple. And then we're targeting guys as undrafted free agents that we think we really want. And we're going to go aggressively as soon as the 7th round ends and get on the horn and get these guys in here. And that's how they've done it. It's an incredible game plan by Lynch, who was in the broadcast booth not that long ago, and Parag Marathe. And the result is that their team is always loaded. They're deep. Their roster's packed with young talent, with cheap talent, with ascending players, with guys who are getting better, that are getting coached up by their coaching staff. And it results in the deepest roster in pro football. And the nice thing about it, unlike the Rams, who went for it by paying 5 or 6 guys at the top of their roster and then have basically had to give up the last couple seasons, and now they're shopping everybody. They traded Ramsey. They're shopping Stafford. There's rumors they're going to move Aaron Donald. They're breaking that thing down. The Rams aren't going to be heard from for 2 or 3 years. Look at the Eagles this year. The Eagles went to the Super Bowl. Look how many free agents have already left the Eagles. They've torn it down. The Niners plan is not just a great plan. It's sustainable. and it keeps you at a very high level talent-wise. The 49ers are going to show up in July in Santa Clara with one of the deepest rosters in pro football, and they're going to be one of the favorites to win the Lombardi Trophy every year going forward for the foreseeable future. And it's all because of this plan, this discipline that they show in free agency. They're very focused. They know exactly what they want. They know exactly what they don't want. They know what their overall goal is. They know where they sit in the compensatory selection equation at all times. They know how many picks are coming their way. They make their signings with that compensatory formula in mind at all times. And then day 3 of the draft, they hit. And day 4, after the post draft, they really hit. I mean, think about it. Manuel Mosley, who just left, undrafted free agent. Nick Mullins, who was the quarterback here, undrafted free agent. Raheem Mostert, undrafted free agent. Jeff Wilson, undrafted free agent. These are guys who were great undrafted free agents that provided great value and went elsewhere for better deals and big money. So it's an awesome formula. You got to credit Lynch. You got to credit Parag Marate. And if you're a Niner fan, man, time to start doing cartwheels. You want to talk money ball? This is your money ball. This is your value that nobody else sees. This is Joe Lacob. I'm light years ahead of the competition. This plan is light years ahead of the competition. There's no team in pro football that has consistently had the deep roster that the Niners have had over the last 5 seasons, 6 seasons. The Eagles were loaded one year. There's other teams that are Kansas City's loaded one year. Nobody's been loaded every year except for the 49ers. I got to tip my cap to them. They're doing it right. They absolutely are doing it right. All right. Hope you enjoyed the 49er video. Hit Pig in a Pickle. Love Pig in a Pickle. And thanks also to the New York Style Italian Sausage Company for, New York Style Sausage just sent us to spring training, and they're a proud sponsor of the Krueger Show as well. My favorite Italian sausage is New York Style sausage. All right, that does it for us. Keep your Niner, you're looking for Niner coverage, keep it locked right here on the Krueger Show. Hit like, hit subscribe, and we're going to bring you great content right all the way through free agency and right up and through the draft, right into the 2024 49er season. Can't wait for it to start.